we know nothing can undo the tragic abuse that victims suffered, we believe the Chapter 11 process with the proposed trust structure will provide equitable compensation to all victims while maintaining the BSA's important mission.
Based on the testimony of an expert hired by the Boy Scouts who's been reviewing the perversion files for 5 years, she said there are over 12,000 victims. We also know that she identified that there are over 7,800 perpetrators known to the Boy Scouts.
Well, for more on the story, let's bring in Yasmine El-Sabawi in Washington. Hi, Yasmine. Now, before we look at the decision to file for bankruptcy, can you tell us more about the history of sex abuse at the Boy Scouts of America?
Well, the group Abused in Scouting, which unearthed about 2,000 of these sexual abuse claims, say all of this dates back to the group's founding back in 1910. They say the Boy Scouts of America maintained a blacklist of sorts, something they called the perversion files, which showed that there were hundreds and thousands of cases of abuse taking place that were hidden. Sometimes, due to internal investigations, somebody was who carried out abuse was compelled to resign, but reasons were never given, and this was never publicized. But records show that this began with things like counselors giving boys access to alcohol or showing them pornography, and that then escalated to things like taking group showers or sleepovers, and ultimately ended in cases of rape in some cases.
Now, how about this decision to file for bankruptcy? How has the Boy Scouts justified this rather drastic move?
In a statement they put out on Tuesday, they essentially say that all of this is tragic and they're outraged, and therefore they needed to file for bankruptcy in order to restructure, to create a victims' compensation fund so that victims can come forward and that their concerns can be addressed in a way that also protects their identity. But what this also does, filing for Chapter 11 under U.S. Code, is that it effectively stops all further civil suits coming forward, puts a hold on them, and also allows the Boy Scouts of America to address all the lawsuits in one courtroom rather than going to court for each individual case.
Okay, so how have the lawyers representing these hundreds of alleged sex abuse victims, how have they responded to this move to file for bankruptcy?
They were critical. One lawyer even said, you know, we'd filed enough cases, put enough pressure on the Boy Scouts of America to make them act, but certainly not enough to drain their resources that it would affect, that it would bring forward this outcome to file for bankruptcy or affect things at the local level. But what they're saying is now victims won't get their day in court. They won't individually be heard because they will no longer be able to take to have their individual cases addressed in separate courtrooms.
So what happens to the Boy Scouts now? Will the organization still be able to operate?
You know, much like USA Gymnastics or even the Catholic Church in America, these organizations continue to operate. The Boy Scouts of America will continue to operate. We understand that the chapters at the local level are both financially independent and also legally independent. But attorneys for some of the victims are concerned that some chapters will be affected because these chapters are named in some of the sexual abuse cases that they are putting forward.
Okay, Yasmine El-Sabawi in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for that update.